Thank you, Meredith and the Chamber of Commerce, and of course America's First, for allowing me to speak today. And thank you all for braving the colder than normal weather and attending the Homewood State of the City address. Last year was my first State of the City address and the first ever to be held on Zoom. And let me tell you how much more excited I am to be here face to face. It is just so much more meaningful to be able to talk with you and to have handshakes and hugs and everything else. So thank you guys so much for attending today. As in previous years, I will be explaining where we are currently as a city, as well as mention a few things that we've done over the past 12 months. We have a lot of exciting projects coming in 2022, and I will touch on each one of these things as we move through today's message. I do like to start these messages off with some very important statements, and frankly, I can't think of anything more important to say than to say thank you. Thank you to Homewood. Thank you to our citizens. Thank you to our businesses, our city employees, our city council. 2021 was a great year, albeit somewhat of a rebuilding year. Rebuilding our businesses, our relationships, and bouncing back from uncertain times. And we are still in the midst of some uncertain issues, but Homewood is growing stronger by the day. Our focus has to be on the future, all the while holding on to the past and what makes us great. We want to build a better Homewood, and that begins with proper planning, proactive thinking, adaptation, and positivity. At this moment, we are a community that is the envy of so many others. However, Homewood is no exception to much of the widespread negativity that is plaguing our nation, our state, our city, and our neighborhoods. While I welcome any and all input from my neighbors on how we can together build a better Homewood, I firmly believe that the relentless negativity shown towards others by some is not conducive in reaching that goal. We endure conflict each and every day, and it's our actions that define us. Conflict is unavoidable, but it is controllable, but only through our conduct. We aren't going to see eye to eye on everything. Council's not going to have unanimous decisions on every agenda item, but it's how we deal with those disagreements that will move us forward or weigh us down. Coach Bill Parcells once told his fellow coach Mike Zimmer 3 things about being a head coach, and I think that these 3 things are relatable in city work as well. Number 1, your friends will disappoint you. Number 2, 4 or 5 things will happen every day that you wish wouldn't happen. And if you can't handle those things, then you might need to find something else to do. And number 3, it's lonely. These are things that can easily drag us down in our jobs and in our daily lives. Don't do your living on social media. Don't accept everything on Facebook as fact. And stop basing your worth on the comments section. I say this because there are so many good things that are happening in Homewood right now within our city, but it's hard to see them with the ever-increasing fog of negativity. This toxicity damages our community and in turn dissuades good people from running for office. Let me be clear, I have no issue with people voicing their opinions or offering constructive criticism to their elected officials, and it is certainly their right to do so. What we can't do is let the negative overwhelm us to the point of becoming stagnant. We will stumble through things, make mistakes, encounter unintended consequences. These are all foregone conclusions. However, learning from those mistakes and making progress in spite of those stumbles will help us reach our ultimate goal, which is to leave Homewood in better shape than when we started. The goodness of Homewood outshines the bad. We are a special community who always answers the call. We have proven time and time again that we will rally in the face of tragedy and come to the aid of our neighbors and our businesses in need. The Homewood star shines brightest in the dark, and it's never been brighter than we are right now. As I said earlier, we want to build a better Homewood, and we are getting better every day. We have continued to grow. We are growing our relationships with our neighboring communities, our neighboring municipalities, our state representatives, and our senators. Quarterly mayor's meetings and council roundtables are very beneficial in order to be able to hear what is going on around us and discuss how we can all do better for our respective cities. It has been 1 year since my first speech, and while I think this year has gone very well, there are certainly things that we can improve upon. We just need more days in the week, more time in the day, and less distractions, so I'll let you guys figure out how to make that work. We have gained so much momentum over the last year, and we will continue to work hard to accomplish even more in 2022. And I'm very excited about several items, one of them being our new citizen portal. This allows citizens to alert the city on issues like power outages, potholes, sewage and water issues, and traffic concerns. I also requested this past year the completion of the Culture City sensory training for both our police and fire departments, and I am proud to say that we are currently sitting around 90% completion. The Homewood Police Department, along with a task force comprised of Homewood citizens and local leaders, revamped our use of force policy at the beginning of the year. Thank you for everybody that was involved in that. The new stormwater management plan is live and on the website, and we are about to begin our stormwater management master plan in the next month, which will start a citywide study and implementation plan for all of our aging storm sewers. These projects and numerous others, which I will talk about over the next few minutes, are not accomplished by a single person. We need guidance. Excuse me, I lost my place. We need guidance and a sense of community to help persevere. I have to say a special thanks to many people who are leading the way in these endeavors. The City Council, and if you are present, please stand when I call your name. Andy Gwaltney, Melanie Gear, Carlos Alamán, Andrew Wolverton, Nick Sims, Walter Jones, Barry Smith, Jalete Nelms, Jennifer Andrus, John Harden, and of course our City Council President, Alex Wyatt. Thank you all so much. This group of men and women are hardworking and diligent in their duties as representatives, and I appreciate each and every one of them on a very personal level. I have heard these people get asked on multiple occasions, I don't know how you do this. Well, I do, and I can tell you it's because they care. They care about Homewood just as I do, just as you do. And I hope you will realize that leading is never easy, and leading in current times is even more difficult. Keep caring, keep working with those around you, keep asking for help. And if you do these things, I promise that you will leave the city better than when you found it. I would also like to thank my department heads and their staffs. I have learned more from talking with these wonderful folks over the past year, and I look forward to working with them for the remainder of this term for the betterment of Homewood. And if you are present, please stand as well. Melody Salter, City Clerk. Robert Burgett, our Finance Director. Wyatt Pugh, Inspections Department. Cale Smith, Engineering and Zoning. Chief Tim Ross with the Police Department. Chief Nick Hill with the Fire Department. Unfortunately, Berkeley Squires could not be here with us today due to the passing of his mother. Gordon James with the Fleet Maintenance Department. Deborah Fout with the library, and John Morgan with the court system. Thank you all very much for everything that you do. And thank you guys for listening to my concerns and questions and for taking the time to sit down with me and discuss your departments. The collaboration and communication between departments is getting better, and I'm very pleased with the results from your respective teams. So thank you all. I would be remiss if I did not mention our dear friend and colleague, James Yates, our former IT department head. Sadly, James passed away last year, and his infectious laugh and tremendous spirit have been sorely missed. And I also want to mention briefly all of the wonderful men and women who have retired from Homewood in the past year. Thank you for your many years of service to the city of Homewood, and we would not be here where we are today without your hard work and dedication. And then lastly, I want to thank our city attorney, Mike Kendrick, and my Chief of Staff, J.J. Bischoff. If y'all would please stand. They have both been invaluable to me over the last year, and I cannot thank them enough for addressing all concerns quickly and professionally, so thank you very much, gentlemen. As we get to the slideshow presentation, or slideshow part of the presentation, I want to let you know that I will be going department by department in order to inform you what has gone on in the last year and what we are focused on for 2022. Please bear with me as we go through this. I know that PowerPoint presentations are not the most invigorating presentations, but it is the easiest way to present all the wonderful things that we have slated for this year. Make sure the clicker works. There we go. All right, so I will somewhat turn to the side so I can read off of the screen here. So if you look at the first several slides are going to be our financial numbers. For the review of the last 5 years for our general fund, this past year, $130,000. Again, that's pre-audited. They actually just started the audit today, so Robert and Melody, good luck. And that was after paying $325,000 in bonuses. 2020 left over $56,000, almost $57,000 after paying $375,000 in bonuses and receiving $856,000 in CARES Act money. In 2019, $609,000 after paying $375,000 in bonuses and transferring $1 million into capital projects. And then in 2018, just over $700,000 after paying $325,000 in bonuses. And also that year, we transferred $1 million into capital projects fund and into our debt services fund. So a review of our fiscal year 2021 operating results, again, pre-audited. We finished the year with a slight surplus, as I mentioned, with revenues over expenditures of approximately $130,000 after paying $325,000 in bonuses. We did receive over $3 million in ARPA money, which is the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, to be used for budget shortfalls. Luckily, we did not have to use it for that, or other approved projects such as stormwater management projects, which I'll talk about later. The city also paid out approximately $676,000 of this ARPA money at the end of the fiscal year 2020-21 to employees who worked during the pandemic as allowable under ARPA rules. Some of the good news is sales tax is approximately up 16% compared to fiscal year 19-20, and that's 9% to the positive compared to pre-pandemic. So a lot of the comparisons that we'll make today, not only for the finances, but for some of the other departments, will be based off of the pre-pandemic year, because the pandemic year was such an anomaly that it's really hard to compare that and know exactly where we are. So we try to go back at least one more year and do the pre-pandemic fiscal year 18-19. Property tax was up over 8% compared to fiscal year 19-20. Lodging tax is up over 28% compared to fiscal year 19-20, and it's down 12% compared to pre-pandemic FY 18-19, but that is assumed to be the normal with companies not having anybody travel and all of the COVID restrictions and protocols that companies put on their sales teams. Building permits are up over 38% compared to fiscal year 19-20, and it's level compared to fiscal year 18-19. And business licenses, thank you, Bo, are up over 6% compared to fiscal year 19-20, and again, level compared to pre-pandemic. Park and recreation revenue is up 99% year over year. That's a fantastic number. Congratulations to those guys. I know that was a very difficult thing to do, but you were closed most of 2020 for all of the sports activities, so that is an exceptional rate of increase. So thank you guys for the job you do. And then the library revenue was up 30% year over year. The city finished the fiscal year with a small surplus without having to access any reserves, including the Economic Uncertainty Fund, which is what we consider our rainy day fund. We like to put that in there because there are questions, especially during the pandemic, whether or not we had to borrow any money from there, and we did not. So we wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. And again, a lot of these are certainly thanks to our department heads, and especially Robert and Melody with our finance department for keeping our finances and everything in line and making sure that departments knew when they needed to halt on spending. So we really do appreciate everybody taking a close look at that. So just a quick snippet for fiscal year 21-22, first quarter, which is October through December. Again, the post-pandemic is normal compared to the first quarter of 2021, which we will consider pandemic. Sales tax is up approximately 4% already, which is fantastic. Lodging tax is up approximately 84%. But again, that reflects a higher than normal increase due to the availability now of vaccines and the increase in travel with COVID restrictions being lifted among businesses across the country. And then our rental tax is also up approximately 11%. So people are getting out there and spending money again, and we love the fact that they're coming to Homewood to do it. So thank you so much for everybody that is here. So the last slide will tell you what our total general fund budget for the year was, $58,407,399. And then our capital fund budgeted revenues, $2 million, just over $2.2 million. Our transfer from general fund to grants fund was $3.5 million. Our budgeted use of our fund balance is almost $1.3 million. So our total capital budget for the fiscal 22 budget year is just over $7 million. So we expect that number to stay there and do just as diligent a job this year and have a surplus at the end of the year as well. So again, thank you all for the hard work that you do in our departments. For the Homewood Police Department, the pandemic caused skews in the numbers from every department, like I said, over the last year, and the police department is no different. Knowing that the lockdowns, quarantines would certainly drive those statistics down, we were cognizant that those numbers would increase once people started getting out of the house again. These numbers are more equitable to those of pre-pandemic numbers, as I mentioned, so the slides you're about to see are comparisons to those numbers. We are also excited to be rolling out the new Homewood Police app very soon. So that anybody can easily access traffic reports and changes, crime statistics, etc. from their phones. And I do want to say a special thank you to Sergeant Carr for his hard work in putting this application together. These men and women of the Homewood Police Department work very hard to keep our citizens and businesses safe, and I'm very proud of the job that they do each year. So if you look on the slide behind me, the total number of service calls for 2021 was just under 42,000, which is actually 10,000 more compared to 2020. So if you let that sit in for a minute, that's a huge increase in calls year over year. But again, that had a lot to do with people not leaving their houses. So we certainly appreciate the ramp up in energy and job duties that the police department has had to do. Traffic stops, 7,359. Citations, just over 6,000. And arrests, almost 1,600 for 2021. Total crime percentage is down 17% in Homewood as compared to the pre-pandemic 2019. A little bit of a breakdown: burglary is down 67%, robbery down 53%, UBEV or vehicle break-ins is right at flat. Our motor vehicle theft is down 10%, and regular theft is down 35%. So as I mentioned, overall, crime is down over 17% compared to pre-pandemic 2019, and down over 30% since 2015. So again, thank you very much, Homewood Police Department, for the job that you guys do. We really do appreciate it. The Homewood Fire Department's numbers are equally as impressive, and I'm thankful to the men and women who have stepped up this year, having welcomed in new leadership roles, heavy rainfalls, and record flooding, as well as the continued pandemic. I am extremely excited to have the Deputy Chief position back in place with Brandon Broadhead, and I know Chief Hill is excited about that as well. So the total number of service calls in 21, was 4,697, which is 500 more than it was in 2020. The average response time across all categories for the fire department is just over 6 minutes, which meets all NFPA and ISO standards. There was a new physical fitness training regimen implemented in 2021 and tested at the annual job task. I know that they welcomed several of our council members to join them on that job task, and I congratulate each of you for finishing it, because there's no way that I would have been able to do it. The fire department completed almost 34,000 hours of training across 75 firefighters in 2021. They updated the training facility on Snow Drive to provide a more realistic environment. Crews painted and marked almost 700 fire hydrants across the city and performed a total of 1,370 hydrant inspections. HFD welcomed 14 new firefighter positions in 2021, including the aforementioned deputy chief, as well as a new training officer. This allows us to have more efficient management of all of our teams and responsibilities. We also have a new fire truck coming into the fleet in 2022 to replace Ladder 6. We also are expecting our ISO inspection again this year. We're on the third year of our 3-year rotation. We received a rating of 1, which is the highest level in 2019, and we expect to be on that same level again in 2022. That's an extreme honor, considering that less than 1% of departments across the nation hold this. So that is fantastic. So thank you very much, Homewood Fire Department, for all the hard work that you guys put in. Excuse me. For yet another year, no single department was more affected by the pandemic than our library. They did not resume pre-pandemic hours with a full staff until July of 21. But even with those constraints, the library remained a vital part of the community and continued to provide excellent service to our residents. Looking at the slide, the 2020 state statistics came out actually in 21, showing that even during the pandemic, the Homewood Public Library ranked #1 in the state for circulation for a library our size. The Homewood Public Library also had the highest program attendance for 2020. Even though, as I said, the library did not resume pre-pandemic hours until July of 21, the statistics soared. Items in the collection were used just over 500,000 times. The library had over 900 programs and 28,000 in attendance. And these programs were a mix of both in-person and virtual. The Homewood Public Library celebrated its 80th birthday on March 24th of 2021. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic conditions, the library did not have an in-person celebration, but provided giveaway items for patrons and for, excuse me, and reading contests for children. The library received over 200 birthday cards from community members and libraries across the country, including our sister library in Homewood, Illinois. 2 library employees received state awards from the Alabama Library Association. Heather Cover received the Eminent Librarian Award, and Edward Eggleston received the Para-Librarian Award. They were both recognized at a council meeting earlier this year, or last year, excuse me. And the long-awaited parking lot project began before the end of 2021, and fingers crossed we should be completed by the end of next month. So weather hold off and we'll get that finished. The Homewood Public Library once again was named a Star Library for 2021 by the Library Journal. The library received a 4-star rating. Library Journal looked at just over 5,000 libraries that qualified. They selected only 262 to actually receive a star rating, which is less than 5% of public libraries across the country. And only 5 libraries in the state of Alabama were selected. The Homewood Public Library was the only library in Jefferson County to receive a star rating this year. So that's another big congratulations to our friends at the Homewood Library. The Friends of the Library had several online book sales in 2021 and reopened their bookstore in July. And then the Homewood Library Foundation, unfortunately, again, could not hold their annual block party in 21 due to pandemic conditions, but they're already working on the block party for 2022, which is hoped to be the biggest and the best yet. So thank you again to our library team and Miss Debbie Fout, our library head, for all the wonderful work they do. There were numerous projects that either began in 2021 or were completed. These are just a few of the main projects that were taken on by our city departments during the course of the last year, and I cannot tell you how hard Each of these employees worked to bring these projects to fruition as things were so different working under the constraints of the pandemic. There's $800,000 actually slated this year for paving, which is fantastic. Our Diverging Diamond project on I-65 Lakeshore is scheduled to begin in February or March. We were renewed yet again as a Tree City USA for the 5th year in a row. We are readily awaiting the completion of the Green Springs Revitalization Project and repaving. That completion, fingers crossed again, is date estimate of March or April of this year. We have continued work with Over the Mountain Mayors and Council Roundtable in order to sustain regional cooperation, including working directly with Mountain Brook on the ever-awaiting Brookwood Mall property, which has now been purchased. We have a continued focus on the connectivity through sidewalk construction, repairs, and ADA compliance and ramps, specific ones I'll mention in a minute. We have continued research on the development of a city manager position. My presentation should be mid-February and sent to the council in discussion for planning and discussion. We launched the new Homewood Interactive Zoning and GIS Mapping, which is on the website now. We launched that in 2021. We also released the design of sidewalk projects on Salter Road, Lancaster, Mecca, and Reese Street. Some of these are long-awaited projects that had to be postponed, again, due to the pandemic and numbers. We released the Stormwater Master Plan for the Griffin Creek Basin and the design for 3 stormwater infrastructure projects across the city. The west side of 18th Street is to be under construction in early 2022. Greenway Phase 2 will will be bid in the spring of 2022. We also have the design of the Sanford Pocket Park along Salter Road, and then sidewalk design to begin in early 2022 in the Forest Brook Delcris neighborhood of West Homewood. One of the most important aspects of our community certainly is our award-winning school system. Dr. Hefner and our school board have endured so much over the last year, and I certainly applaud their efforts while undergoing one of the most difficult times in our system's history. Dr. Hefner and I have a great working relationship, and I'm very proud of the job he and the board have done making difficult decisions in uncertain and ever-changing times, while also continuing to improve on the excellence that we have come to expect from the Homewood school system. I believe Homewood City Schools is in great hands, and I look forward to seeing success for years to come. During the most complicated school year in history, Homewood City Schools has not lost sight of their system's mission, which is to educate, empower all students, and to maximize their unique potentials. Homewood City School administrators, teachers, and staff members have worked extremely hard to provide our families with an on-campus and virtual learning this year, with both learning options being taught by a Homewood City School teacher, so that all of our students have access to the same challenging and engaging curriculum and education our community expects from our schools. Homewood City Schools was named the #1 best school district in the Birmingham area for 2021 by Niche. Homewood High School is ranked as the 4th best high school in Alabama by the U.S. News and World Report rankings of best high schools in the country. Homewood High School was nationally ranked based on the school's performance on state-required tests, graduation, and how well they prepare students for college. 13 students at Homewood High School have been named 2020-2021 National Merit semifinalists. This is a record number of National Merit semifinalists at HHS. Homewood City Schools places high value on professional development, and we are proud to have 42 National Board certified teachers on staff. Homewood City Schools has also been named a Best Community for Music Education 13 years in a row by the National Association of Music Merchants Foundation. And then Homewood High School student athletes have earned state championships in 15 different sports with 53 total state championships. So can I get a round of applause, please, for Homewood City Schools? And Dr. Hefner, if you wouldn't mind standing up. Thank you so much for the work you do. Our Chamber of Commerce, under the direction of the wonderful Meredith Drennan, has done such a wonderful job working with our local businesses and continue to grow our numbers, increase smart economic development, and improve the quality of life in Homewood. I requested additional funds this year to be added to the Chamber's budget so that we can put focus on the upcoming World Games. We want everybody who is attending these games this summer to walk away impressed with the hospitality and the charm of Homewood. We want them to stay in Homewood, to shop in Homewood, dine in Homewood, and leave Homewood with wonderful memories of their time here. And as you can see from this slide, the Chamber did some incredible things in 2021, and we have more exciting things on the way in 2022. The Homewood Chamber of Commerce raised $21,000 from their 2021 annual Chamber Golf Classic. As was mentioned earlier in the meeting, there were 43 new members in 2021. They had 26 ribbon cuttings. They worked alongside the Homewood Beautification Board to implement beautification awards and Christmas trees and decorations. They had 48 events that were held in 2021, including 3 groundbreakings, the Hop and Shop, the Holiday Open House, the Sidewalk Sale, the 4th of July celebration, and We Love Homewood Day. We're looking forward to 2022 with the much anticipated planning of the Brookwood Mall redevelopment, additional parcels at Wildwood such as Chipotle, Hibachi, and of course everybody's incredibly excited and awaiting the Chick-fil-A reopening. The Chamber is spearheading a campaign to do a comprehensive digital geofencing project during the 2022 World Games, placing Homewood guides in all of the stadiums, hotels, and venues for the events, and providing a new map with friendly shopping and dining as a guide to Homewood. And prior to the World Games, which is actually already in production, they're adding videos highlighting the community, so I'm sure you will see those starting to roll out very, very soon. So thank you, Meredith and the Chamber. The Homewood Park and Rec, some of the numbers they have, the basketball season has 117 teams with 954 players registered. 10 years ago, that league was 250 kids. That's a big, big increase. Baseball, we have 65 teams in the spring of 21. We had 65 teams in the spring of 21. Softball, we had 10 teams. Soccer, which is Homewood's largest sport, has over 1,100 players each season. Lacrosse has over 110 players registered for the upcoming 2022 season, which I believe begins very soon. Tackle football and cheerleading had a huge increase this past fall with nearly 200 participants. And flag football went from 30 teams in 2020 to 32 in 2021. And I don't know if you understand how hard it is to grow both tackle football and flag football at the same time. It's very, very impressive. So Jacob and the crew at Homewood Parks and Rec, thank you guys for everything that you guys do. Tennis, we're seeing a very large increase in participation with growing numbers of clinics, camps, and leagues, both in youth and adult. Volleyball, we had our inaugural season this year, and there were 92 girls participating between 4th and 6th grade. And then pickleball, which is just getting started at the community center, and we already have 15 to 30 patrons playing on a daily basis. And we're hoping to grow this number and look for other areas to set up future courts. Excuse me. Community is one of the most used terms when describing Homewood, and our neighborhoods are certainly one of the best assets we have in this city. I want to say thank you to the Gullis Group, the Birmingham Association of Realtors, and the National Association of Realtors for gathering this information on our local real estate numbers. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median estimated home value in Homewood is $478,000. There has been a 10% increase in the median home value in Homewood over the last year. And according to the Birmingham Association of Realtors, there were 495 homes sold in Homewood during 2020. The average sold price was just over $470,000. It was just under $470,000 in 2020. The median days on the market was 3. That's very, very impressive. And 215 of those homes were sold within 48 hours. The leading reasons, according to local realtors, for purchasing in Homewood are location and proximity to downtown Birmingham for work, the charm and character of our housing supply, the award-winning school system, our family-centric, tight-knit community atmosphere, and our well-kept park and recreation areas, and our above-average walk score. It's clear from this slide that people want to be in Homewood. And they want to be in Homewood because of folks like you and the jobs that you guys do in your businesses, working for the city, volunteering your time. This is the reason people want to be here, or the people and the leaders in this room. So again, I have to say thank you very much to each one of you guys for being here today. In closing, again, I want to say thank you to all of our city employees for the remarkable job that you have done over the course of the last year. Homewood has continued to be a place that we are all proud of, and I can say with 100% certainty that it's because of the hard work and care that each of you puts into this city that we call home. I have nothing but the best wishes for you all, to all of our Homewood employees, our residents, and our businesses. Thank you very much, and here's to a better and more prosperous 2022.